All right, we have a lot of foundational strength that we incorporate into our training plans, and they all are predicated basically on getting movement from your hips and power from your hips. Our main lifts are back squats, Romanian deadlifts, and pull-ups and push-ups. And then we do single leg variations as well. But before you do anything else, it's really important to know what we're talking about when we talk about the hip hinge. So when we do a hip hinge, we're basically pushing your hips back and keeping your back straight. So if you're unfamiliar, if you start to do any movement and your quads come, your knees bend forward, that's a very good sign that your quads are overly developed. And that you might be quad dominant, which can lead to injuries. So what we want to do is get things into the posterior chain. So the hip hinge is the most foundational thing for that. So to practice, you can stand a little bit away from a wall, and you're going to keep your knees soft. You're not going to be locking your knees, but then you're just bringing your hips back and then squeezing your butt to come all the way to standing. If you sit a lot for work, you might find that when you stand up, you're here versus here. So we really want to be fully engaging the glutes anytime you are lifting, standing, playing with your kids, brushing your teeth, doing dishes, anything like that. We really want to be enforcing that full hip extension. Okay, so then when you start to add weight, you want to keep your back straight, so you're hinging at the hips, and when you grab some weight, that is then the Romanian deadlift. So you're pulling the weight in to engage your lats. That helps protect your spine and keep your back straight. And then again, I'm only dropping down because my hips are coming back. I don't want to do it with this much weight, but I'm not bending forward. So you can see how this uses my back, which also gets my hips back. It puts a lot of pressure on the back. This is actually another exercise called Good Mornings. But what we want to focus on is you're driving from the hips, and that's what's bringing your back into a different position. Okay? So you're lifting the weight, and then you're only coming down to as much as you can keep your back straight. If you start to arch your back or come here, then that's putting stress on your back, so you don't go down as far. So even if it's just a slight movement like this, and you might feel tension at the top of your hamstrings. If you have really tight hamstrings, that's a really common thing. That's okay, just don't overdo it. So when you start to feel that stretch in the hamstring, that's when you pull back up with your hips. Okay? And you can see how that would be. Oh, the other thing is that if you kind of tuck your tail too much, that also puts a lot of stress on the back. So you just want to make sure that you can imagine that your pelvis is a bowl, and we're always wanting the bowl to be neutral, not dipping down like this or dipping back this way. So again, it's going to look like this. And then the difference between, this is a Romanian deadlift, a normal deadlift would be bending the knees, and then a squat, you're going like this, but a back squat, you're going to have the weight here, obviously. But the major difference between the two lifts is that a squat, you're still going back with your hips, but then you're bending the